Welcome to Toasting the Classics, a podcast where we take something that people call a classic and we talk about it. Well, we drink something inspired by the classic, because this is the regular Toasting the Classics. This is the real deal. This is the one where we have an alcoholic beverage. I am Dave McArthur, as always, and with me today I've got, starting with C.
Hi, my name is Chris Gragg. Pleasure to
Well,
be back. Thank you for having me.
welcome back. And starting with A.
Hi, I'm Andrew Park. Second time here.
Welcome back. And last but not least,
Joe Iglesias, the one who pulls the strings.
we're not drinking wine. We really should be drinking wine, shouldn't we? I didn't think of that until halfway through the film.
We never drink wine.
Wine.
We can talk our booze options
Wait.
Later. We did have a wise choice.
We could just say we could just say tonight on the podcast we are not drinking wine. We just
I think you should.
Yeah,
that's
there we go.
That's very on brand.
I think that's probably the way to handle this thing. So
yeah,
we're not doing Dracula. We're not doing the original film Dracula, which we could be, which would be a great show to do, and one I've kind of been meaning to do forever. We are doing, from 1994, the cult classic, I think you'd have to call it. Certainly not like an overall classic in everybody's esteem, is Ed Wood, starring Johnny Depp, directed by Tim Burton. So directed by Tim Burton, I'm correct on that, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, who wrote it? It's the guys that wrote Airheads and Problem Child, right?
According to Wikipedia, apparently had wanted to do this script, but no one would greenlight it because who would make a movie about Ed Wood? And then eventually Tim Burton got wind of it, and as an Ed Wood fan, he was on board.
I should probably say this as part of the argument about whether or not this is a classic, but this is the kind of film people would totally make today. There are lots of movies that are done this way today. Isn't there one about Frankenstein? About the making of Frankenstein that's very similar, with Brendan Fraser and Gandalf.
That was actually fairly close to the release of this, actually. Gods and Monsters. Okay. Yeah, Gods and Monsters is is not a very recent movie.
Do you think the Tommy Wiseau biopic
gets made without this? You ruined it. You ruined it. No. I was watching this film and the whole time I was like, what is the other movie about a quixotic movie director that I watched and I really know, and I was thinking about it, and I thought of Birdman. I actually Googled movies about quixotic filmmakers and Birdman came up. And then about 20 minutes later watching the movie, I was like, oh, it's Tommy Wiseau. That's what it was. It was in my head, it's the same shtick and the same sort of expectation of greatness in making the movie. And so anybody want to try a basic synopsis of what it is we're talking about?
Yeah, so this is a biopic about Edward D. Wood Jr., mostly infamous for making what is widely called the worst movie of all time, Plan 9 from Outer Space, originally Grave Robbers from Outer Space. Well, we may or may not touch on that later. Yeah, Plan 9 is hailed as his worst, but none of his movies are very good. I can think of at least 5 that have been featured on Mystery Science Theater and various related projects.
They're literally as bad as The Apartment. They're just as bad when you're watching. I mean, they're maybe a little more coherent from a script perspective. There is a plot, but in terms of people walking into scenery and delivering their lines in a wooden way, and
do you mean the room? Or
the room. I think you mean
I'm sorry, the room, the room, not The Apartment. The Apartment is an Academy Award-winning film. That's completely different. Yeah, I have not seen it, but I don't wish to impugn it to the level of Tommy Wiseau's genius. So yeah.
So this is basically just a biopic about the life and times of Ed Wood as a struggling B-movie maker who, at least is portrayed by Johnny Depp, has just an indefatigable love for the movies and level of hustle, even if basically no one is a fan of his work. Wood is also somewhat infamous for being a cross-dresser, something that comes up in his first movie, Glen or Glenda, and also comes up in this biopic.
Definitely, it's a big part of it. It actually seems more appropriate to a film that would come out today than something that came out in 1994, in large part because of that. Although they do make the distinction, and I think a lot of people understand this today, it's not the same thing as being transsexual or gay, or it's like a separate category. So
this is true. Yeah. We our society's understanding of the relative nuance there is definitely different from Wood's day, and probably even when this movie got
1994, made. Right? I don't know if people made that distinction then for the most part. I mean, it was Ellen DeGeneres was barely able to be gay on TV in the 90s.
Arguably, she wasn't. She was kicked off her show.
Oh, her sitcom, right?
Oh, they did. Oh, I thought she was on for a few more years after that. Oh, I didn't know that. I mean, I remember on Roseanne, there were a couple of gay characters, which would have been right about the same time, but they weren't the main characters, I guess.
I feel like the big turning point was the Seinfeld episode where not that there's anything wrong.
Really? Oh, that's interesting. I guess that because that set a standard for like how people should look at it. We're on a little bit of a tangent though, obviously. So
Yeah,
um,
it's kind of related, but yeah.
it's kind of related. Yeah. Well, I did want to let
That,
you
that
guys
that is the
know.
zeitgeist in which like this movie was released to the world.
So I did choose this movie, and I want you guys to know that the reason I chose it is because I want to come out to you guys as someone who likes to wear Angora sweaters, female Angora sweaters, just so it's out there. Yeah.
So that's why they're all stretched out.
Yes, exactly. Yours?
Yes.
I think this has a great cast. What do you guys think?
Oh, it's an
It
amazing
does,
cast.
but I mean, there was kind of a jump scare at the very beginning when Jeffrey Jones came out of the coffin. I'm like, whoa, we don't talk about that guy anymore.
Why? Oh no. Well, hold on. Before we get to that, let's put a pin in that and
Mhm.
let's announce the drink. This is a
Oh,
toasting the classics drinking episode.
okay.
This is a drunken long, whatever we're calling those. So, what are we
Which
drinking?
is really appropriate because the drink we are having is one that Jeffrey Jones himself announces to the table when
Yes,
he's
he
ordering
does.
at the Brown Derby. It is a rum and coke.
So three times in the movie, whiskey is ordered and said aloud. I thought that might be the our pick, but there is one scene where yes, where Jeffrey Jones as Chriswell the psychic
Right.
orders for the table and rattles off.
There's Chablis. He mentioned
Yes, there's.
Chablis, rum and
Mhm.
coke, and something else. I don't remember what the
I
third
wrote
thing
it
is.
down, but now I can't. But now I
But
can't
we've
find
done
my. There it is.
whiskey.
Beefeater martinis,
Okay. Well,
whiskey, Chablis, rum and coke.
that could
Mhm.
have been interesting, but we've done Chablis, weirdly enough, because it was
Well,
prominently featured in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. And we've done whiskey like 5 times. Every time there's a Western, Clint and I are always like, let's
oh,
drink
that's true.
whiskey because we love
That's the easy
whiskey,
pick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
All
an
right.
easy
So maybe
pick.
it's a good
So
thing
Very
we go with
popular.
whiskey again.
yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it'd be fun to
As
do
long
as
as we
long as we
can't
are
have
not
any
drinking
wine.
wine. Yes,
Yes.
exactly. So I saw it coming when he went to Bela Lugosi's house and he was like, I must feed. Oh, the children of the night are calling. I was like, I knew that. I saw that coming, still enjoyed it. And I do not drink wine, also saw it coming and still enjoyed it. That's fun. Even though I don't know if I've seen the original Dracula. It's been on my list to watch forever. I know I saw the original Frankenstein when I was a kid because I remember the part where he kills the little girl really upset me because I was little. I don't know why I watched it. And it made the scene in Young Frankenstein hilarious with the Gene Hackman playing the blind guy in the hut. That's like one of the funniest scenes where he keeps hitting Frankenstein in the crotch and stuff. That's great. Anyway,
Yeah, it
let's
is
not.
terrific. I can't think of another movie where Gene Hackman has a comedic part.
Oh yeah, good point. I can't. Yeah, that's a
Wasn't
He
he
plays
in?
Lex Luthor pretty broadly.
Lex Luthor's pretty is kind of zany, right? Like or sort of madcap bad guy. But yeah, totally.
Well,
Gene
he's got
Hackman's
his assistant Ned Beatty to be the zany person, and he's kind
That's
of
true.
the
In comparison to Ned Beatty, yeah, he looks like he's playing Hamlet.
What's the
Yeah,
movie
yeah.
with Robin Williams?
oh,
Or
the
it's the
Birdcage. Yes, he's quite
Birdcage.
good in that.
Yes.
Well, anyway, we're getting off on a Gene Hackman tangent now, but I don't
Although at
remember
least it's
him in that.
another LGBTQ
I'll
movie.
tell.
Yeah.
I guess I'll tell this completely unrelated anecdote about the film The Birdcage. Is that I rented it from Blockbuster and put it on. I wasn't really paying a whole lot of attention, but I put the movie on, and it ended. And I was like, huh, that seemed really short. And it didn't really make a big impression on me. And I just like forgot about it. And it was like years later, I saw the movie again. I realized it had just been fast forwarded to about 3/4 of the way through the movie. So I only watched the last half hour and it made no sense. And it was over. And I was like, I didn't really want to watch it anyway. Now it's over. Good. I guess like subconscious.
Only 90s kids will remember.
Reminds me of the time that Joe lent me a manga and I didn't know it was, I prepared myself.
Yeah.
And I told myself, okay, things from Japan are usually there's a little bit of they're a little hard to understand or whatever. And then I started reading it and I was like, wait, this isn't just hard to understand. Basic causality seems to have been reversed and it makes no sense whatsoever. So I think everybody out there can see where I'm going with that. But anyway, Joe, we put a pin in Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, so Jeffrey Jones is very persona non grata because he got convicted of having the bad pictures on his computer,
Oh, wow.
which is part
All
of
those
why he's
PDF
not.
files. Yeah.
Yeah, which is why which is I assume why he is not in Beetlejuice.
Oh, okay. I didn't see it actually. I didn't see the new
Mhm.
Beetlejuice, but yeah, he was in a lot of really good
Technically, don't
movies.
they have like a claymation version of him in that movie, right?
Yeah, I think like they explain like his off-screen death as like a claymation flashback or something like that. I didn't see the movie either.
So he's sort of in the movie, but not really. Yeah.
They 3.5 men him.
He did some real bangers there for about 10 years. Like he's the principal in Ferris Bueller, which is super
Mhm.
memorable. This is going to sound weird, but I really remember him from Howard the Duck as the villain. He was really funny in
I was just
that.
going to mention him in that one too. Yeah.
He's good in this. He's really striking in this. I remember him being on Deadwood, which is much later, but there's another, Beetlejuice, obviously. And I think there's another really prominent Jeffrey Jones role that's not
Yeah,
popping
yeah,
in my head right now. But
he got around for a while, but those
yeah,
days are over.
yeah, definitely. There's a lot of people like that in this movie. I mean, I just finished watching that Murdoch show, Murder in the Family, that had Patricia Arquette. Then I watched an episode
Severance.
of Severance, and I was like, oh, there's Patricia Arquette. And then I watched this, and I was like, what? I can't get away from this. I watched 3 different things with
Is
her
that
in the
Patricia
same day.
Arquette?
Yeah,
Watching Severance and then this is wild. I know she ages herself up in Severance and everything, but it's like different people.
yeah. I thought she's really. I just liked her in this for so. I guess because it reminds me of Alabama from True Romance, maybe or something like that. I just kind of
Oh yeah, yeah.
enjoy seeing her again in that, like being young and kind of like cute. But I like her a lot.
Speaking of aging themselves up, Martin Landau in this.
Martin Landau. I know his face. I looked him up and I saw what he really looks like, and I was like, I know that face from 1,000 things. But I looked at the list, and none of them were really jumped out at me as being the Martin Landau movie that I knew really well. I know the face. He's got that kind of hair lip, I think. Not as bad as
Yeah,
Stacy
he's kind
Keach,
of an
but sort of, you know.
kind of an old Hollywood crossover. He was apparently really good friends with James Dean when they were young and acting college in New York. And
Yeah, I thought it was so his I think it must be either his daughter or his wife, Julia Landau, plays the girl that
I think
comes
his daughter.
I think it's his daughter. He meets her at the Ed Wood meets her at the bar, and then it lets her be in. And I was like, oh, that girl's beautiful. Like, what is she from? Right. So I went and looked her up, and I was like, I was looking at the filmography, and it was like, oh, she was in Knights of the Old Republic. And then I looked, and it was like, no, she did the voices of characters I don't even remember. And then it said La Femme Nikita, and I was like, oh, okay. And then it was like, no, that's the TV show, one episode. And then I finally found a movie I'd heard of that she'd been in, and it was Theodore Rex. I don't think she had a
Oh,
very
wow.
illustrious career in film, but she's like, I love looking at her face. Like, she's really pretty. Like, I don't know why I
Yeah,
find her
something
so
about her
striking.
made me think I had seen her in other things before too,
Totally.
but yeah, it
Same with
wasn't. And there
Vampiro.
is a
I thought Vampiro
well,
looked
she
really
is the
familiar.
director's wife.
She is Johnny Depp's wife.
No, the director's wife.
Oh, sorry,
She
that's what I
was the
meant. That's
director's
what I
wife,
meant.
I
Sorry,
guess we
Tim
could say.
Burton. Tim Burton, yeah.
No, Juliet Landau
Yes,
was she played Drusilla in Buffy and Angel.
that's what I know her from. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
And that's the thing because I had looked it up
Okay.
before, and then when I saw it, I was like, yeah, she again, same thing. It's like she looks beautiful and familiar. And then I looked it up, I was like, oh, it's like, and it threw me off is the fact that she's yet another character or another actor who put on a British accent on that on those shows and aren't British.
Yeah, it throws me off because she's not completely crazy in this.
That too.
I guess I'm used to seeing her natural
Was she in a
chewing
lot of other
scenery and
things?
being.
Is that
Well,
what you
that's
guys
the
are
big
saying?
one that I never. It's Buffy for sure.
Oh yeah, okay. See, I watched maybe the first season and a half of Buffy and then nothing else. So it's
Oh,
it's
then
a
you
big
missed out then, yeah.
it's a gap in my education. I remember George
But
the
yeah,
Animal
the
Steel though. Do you guys remember him?
Hmm. Yeah, he did a great job. It's like it's funny that his persona on in wrestling is basically mute and just and animalistic, obviously, but like the fact that I thought he did a great job in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, again, like
Was he?
having seen like one of the movies that he is, that they are like recreating here, I'm gonna say he does justice to Tor Johnson's own acting prowess.
What's funny is that also I was looking it up and I wanted to see what some of these people look like in real life. And Tor Johnson, apparently, the resemblance that George Steele has to him was so much so that when he became popular in wrestling, that they resold Tor Johnson masks as George Steele masks, George the Animal Steel masks.
I saw. Oh,
One of the
they
most
mentioned
popular
that.
Halloween masks of all time.
Right.
Mhm.
I was like, what is that a reference to? I didn't really. I thought it was
It's
like
just no, it's just literal.
okay. Okay. I thought maybe it was like the William Shatner mask being the one from Halloween. Like there was some mask that was supposed to be Tor Johnson that I didn't know about. Okay. All right, got it. So he actually was sold as a George the Animal Steel mask. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
That's
Was he
clever,
really
yeah.
that hairy George the Animal Steel? Or was that fake? That looked like
Oh,
werewolf hair on his back.
I mean, he's a
That
big
was
Billy
real,
White
man.
dude. I can fully believe he's
Joe,
bearish.
Joe, we got
What?
what 20 minutes in before you dropped an F-bomb. I got to bleep you again. Thanks.
I don't
Always more work in post after Joe's on the show.
I don't think I actually swore there. I said he's a big hairy white guy. I can believe he was bearish.
You threw an effing in there. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll
All right,
send you
well,
accolades.
we'll have to
If I'm
we'll
wrong-
check the tape.
Yeah, if I'm wrong, I'll send you accolades that I was being a jerk. So yeah.
But yes, to be clear, he is a very hairy man.
He is a very, I mean, I could sit here and talk about all the people that showed up in this movie. There's the one guy, he was on The Sopranos, and I can't remember the character's name, but actually, there's two people from The Sopranos. But the one I'm thinking of is the security guard on the set. He just has one line, but he's the kind of heavy set guy who gets caught being a leather daddy at one point in the show, and then he like has to run for his life because if anybody finds that out about himself, then they're gonna kill him.
It seemed like there were a lot of character actors that it's the
Mhm.
same kind of situation. Like I swear I know these people, but I don't know them by name.
Yeah, totally.
Like
Totally.
even
I didn't know
the
I had to look up Jeffrey Jones' name, even though I definitely know him and know his name.
Say poor Sarah Jessica Parker having to refer to herself as having
yeah.
a horse face at the beginning of the movie.
I was gonna
That's
bring that up. So I've always had like kind of a crush on, especially young Sarah Jessica Parker, like in the late '80s and stuff when she was in, I think, L.A. Story. I always had a crush on her, and when she said that, I was like, huh, she's not wrong about the horse face comment, but I have to say that is the most bangable horse I've ever seen. A little Loki action.
But it
If
I didn't
Chris
realize
said
you were
that.
ranking horses in your life in that
Well,
way.
this would
he's
be
just doing it low key.
just
it
yes, exactly,
yeah.
doing it low key, right?
It's your pod. You can confess whatever you feel the need to unburden yourself with. And
So the
I
question
looked
is,
up
when do you admit that to them, and do you admit that on the first date, or do you wait until you're several years into the relationship?
No,
that was
you
my
you wait till you're locked in a carnival ride
right,
and she
right.
can't run
It's
away.
hard to run away. She has to sit there for a second and think about. I'm going to admit something sappy. I thought that was a really charming scene. That actually was kind of heartwarming, and it was
Yeah,
weird. Like how I was like, oh, that's like I really love this girl. The fact that she kind of thought about it, and she was like, all right, whatever. And I was like, yeah, that's a keeper, you know.
so that's something else I wanted to bring up. I don't know if we should just do it now or before we really get into the movie or not. But just I had a lot of thoughts about like the tone of this movie in general. In that, like, I feel like this is probably a very print the legend kind of movie. I don't know everything. In fact, hardly anything about
Could
Ed
you
Wood's
could you
actual
expand on
life and times.
the term you just used? I have a feeling it's something I want to know. You said print the legend.
Yes, yes. Well, of course, now that I'm called on this, I'm forgetting the complete context. But it's a turn of phrase that I think it's a famous, probably apocryphal quote from somebody I think in the newspaper business. But it's something like along the lines. I'm sorry, it's so culture literate here, but it's something along the lines of when the truth and legend conflict, print the legend, and that
Oh, okay.
go with what makes for a better story, even if that means bending the facts a bit. And any biopic in general is gonna make creative, like that's why it's a biopic and not a documentary. That
Yeah.
they have creative license to compress things to fit into better into like an hour and a half slot. But Johnny Depp's Ed Wood is just so relentlessly chipper. He feels like a Tim Burton character, not
He
like an
does.
actual person.
He really does. I want to comment on that, but first I want to say something about what you're saying about Print the Legend, which is I saw some comments about how they wrote the movie and the historical data that it was relying on his letters. And they
Mhm.
said that the picture of him that came from the letters is what they wanted to do in the so it felt to me more like less like Print the Legend than just a historiographical choice, like being like we're going to rely on these sources and paint the picture from these sources. I actually thought it was kind of a valid decision you would make like as a historian.
But along those lines, I'm pretty sure that Orson Welles' path never crossed with Ed Wood's.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. That was interesting. I couldn't tell whether they dubbed Vincent D'Onofrio.
They
They
dubbed.
did. They dubbed
They
him with
did.
Maurice
Okay.
100%.
LaMarche, who like is a voice actor, who's like a cartoon voice actor, who does have a specific like Orson Welles voice.
It
He did.
sounded like one of the voices I remembered from Bugs Bunny.
Yep,
There's a
Yep.
that's probably.
I
He
think
did
there's a
the
guy
voice
who
of the brain in Pinky and the Brain, and they did an
Oh, that might be
episode.
it. Well, Looney Tunes then. That's what I'm
Yep.
talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah,
Okay,
Looney
yeah.
Tunes
Okay.
type. He's like a modern era Looney Tunes guy. And again, he is specifically famous for like having done like an Orson Welles voice. Again, you're getting on my case for blowing up your podcast. So I won't quote it, but there's a specific or there's a Orson Welles
I actually don't
outtake.
mind. It's actually a hilarious running joke that I have to bleep you every time you're on. I think we should
Yeah.
keep doing that. So
Yeah, there's a specific like gag about like fake Orson Welles outtakes for doing like commercials. He's like it's like and Swanson's frozen peas full of great green penis. This is ridiculous. You can't have me read this.
not bad, Joe. That's pretty good. Anybody else want to try a Citizen Kane? No, I don't know if we're gonna top that.
No
But
thanks.
it almost looked like they did sort of a blurring of his face. It was such a good rendition, but it was probably just makeup, right?
I,
Go
I
ahead.
I just think the one bad thing about it is the lips did not match up with the ADR at all.
I think I agree with what Joe is saying for the most part. That like for me, one of the films that I've seen recently that kind of like changed my perspective on like a lot of these biopics and everything was Bohemian Rhapsody.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
that like as much as I enjoyed it the first time I watched it, and it was just a lot of fun, and the music's great, obviously, and everything like that. But then it started bothering me just how many historical inaccuracies, how much they changed the timeline, how much they added in these like random characters that were, non-existent but just
This
served the
is
narrative.
You're expressing something that's been bothering me for a long time, and I don't exact. There's about five of these. There's the Bob Marley one. There's the Bob Dylan one. No, I don't think the Bob Dylan one I think is higher quality, but there's the oh my God, Ice Cube and everybody. I'm drawing a
Oh,
blank.
Oh, Straight Outta Compton.
Straight Outta Compton. What's the NWA? So
right.
there's the NWA. There's the Queen one. There's the Elton John one, and there's the one I just mentioned and is now gone from my brain. But they're kind of schmaltzy or something. They pull their punches. It's like they're trying to tell this like sappy story about somebody.
But here's the difference, though, for me
Print
is
print the
that
legend, I think, to some extent, but also just avoid all the really gritty stuff for some reason.
what changed my mind about that a little bit is it depends on how it's done or how it's being told, in my opinion, because then when the Elton John movie came out and I watched that, I really liked it. But what I liked is how the narrative was, it's a fantasy narrative. Like it's no longer trying to like present itself as reality. And what I liked about Ed Wood was the fact that clearly it's an homage to 50s films, just the style, the cuts, the transitions and everything. And so it was almost like, okay, we're going to tell Ed Wood's story, but we're going to do it in the style of a movie made at that time period. So you're, of course, you're going to, change things up. You're going to like update it or not update it. You're going to, modify it so that way it is going to be make you feel better about the characters and, root for them rather than,
Oh,
really getting into like the dark
you
parts
mean
of the
not
story.
like technically like a 50s movie, you mean like thematically the way a 50s movie would have covered things. Like yeah,
Yeah,
in that sense. Oh, I like
like
that. I like that.
like the
Because I mean
black and
the
white you're
most
watching.
obvious thing is the movie's in black and white. We didn't even
Right.
mention that. That's a notable thing.
Hmm.
There's a Wikipedia article about the movies since 1966 that have been made in black and white, and it's you could after like 1980, there's not many, and most of them aren't American major motion pictures. I was wondering, this movie cost 18 million and only made 13. I bet the choice to make it in black and white cost them that $5 million that made it not profitable. But then again, this is a Tim Burton movie and it won a couple of Academy Awards. I don't know that it needed to. I bet it did more for the studio that made it in terms of like building their brand than it lost in money, if you know what I mean.
So this segues into a conversation Chris and I had while watching the movie, which
Okay.
is that so this is I think this is Tim Burton's first movie. So basically, I think essentially like this movie only even got made because like Tim Burton was coming off a hot streak. Like
Oh yeah.
I don't think anybody. I think this is a project the studios gave him, keep him happy as opposed to something they were expecting to be like a big money maker.
It's a bad example to say that about Sinners with Ryan Coogler because obviously Sinners was very successful, but there was a film we covered on the show that was exactly that. It was the movie the guy got to make because he had done something else successful. I don't think it's on the tip of my tongue. I'm not going to waste everybody's time by trying to think of it, but this does happen pretty frequently.
Well, it's funny is that Ed Wood even makes reference in it in the movie. The whole point of him getting the budget for, or
Right.
the way he convinces them to get the budget
With
is
the
to say like,
Christian with
oh,
the Christian people, he's like, yeah,
right,
then you can make
Baptist.
your 12
It's
apostles. Yeah. Well, that's a subset of Christians, right? I mean, unless you're
well, I was being
unless you're making a
specific, James.
theological point. But one
Well,
interesting
it
thing
leads
about
into the baptism scene, so it's kind of important they're Baptist.
all right, yeah, what about it?
I thought that was one of the greatest scenes in the movie.
It's funny. It's
It's
funny. Each character and how they react to it is pretty hilarious, right? Like it's a character study. Like that when Bill Murray's character is like drowning when he gets baptized and makes a big flamboyant
yeah,
point of it. Bill Murray, by the way, low key awesome in this, and
Yeah.
he's like the future Bill Murray, if you know what I mean. He's not 80s Bill
Hmm.
Murray. He's the guy who shows up in
yeah.
Rushmore and a lot of other things that I really liked him later in his career. Because this is before Groundhog Day and stuff, which is like the height of Bill Murray, if you ask. Oh no, you're right. I keep forgetting that this is 1994.
Yeah.
Borderline biggest surprise. I thought this movie came out in like 89. I thought this movie was much older than it actually is, but
Yeah. No, this movie post dates Scrooged.
I loved Scrooge.
hmm,
Nobody liked that movie but me, I don't think. But
really?
I
I love that
really
movie.
liked that. Okay, maybe it's one of those things that everybody liked and I didn't know it, but I really
I
liked
didn't
it.
like it at the time. I should probably revisit it. Do you want to do it for the Christmas episode this year, or have you
That
already
is a
done it?
great. I'm not going to vote against it. I love that movie, but I'm in. Like, let's do it. That's a
All
great
right.
idea. I'm absolutely in for that. One of the things I was thinking
Wonderful
about.
Carol Kane performance.
Oh yeah, she was
Yeah,
awesome.
she's really funny. Saw that with my stepdad, and I think we saw it twice in the movie theater. That's how much I liked it.
But I think
Speaking,
the baptism, just about the baptism scene, really, really quick. I
sure.
think you could read Bill Murray's statement in that movie as kind of a thesis of what the movie is about. Ed, you're the kind of guy that can get all of his friends to come down and give
Yeah,
blood to
yeah,
it for
yeah.
you just to make a bad movie. And
Yep.
I had a lot of trouble figuring out what I thought the movie was about I thought for the first three quarters of the movie, it might be about the relationship between Ed Wood and Bela Lugosi.
I think it
It
is.
kind of is because neither one of them could have survived and mated without the support of the other early on.
Yeah, that's right.
But then Bela Lugosi passes away, and
But couldn't you say that that's what kind of taught him to be a little bit more like that? That friendship with Bela Lugosi was like what made him more open to like inviting more people into his circle and trying to like, accept everyone for who they are.
sorry, there are certain scenes where he's learning something from everyone he interacts with. Like the Jeffrey Jones character. He tells him specifically,
Right. What showbiz
one
is
will
like.
believe you if you just wear a nice suit and talk confidently. And you
I
can
think,
sort of see that sinking in. And the very next scene, he's in a suit and talking confidently. And it
but
all kind of works out.
don't you think Ed Wood was doing that the whole movie? Like even at the beginning, he's dressed in a nice suit and he's talking everybody into things. I think he kind of had known it inside and was behaving that way, but had it clarified by Chiswell, whatever.
Chriswell, yeah.
Criswell, yeah.
Well, I guess that's what really where I came down on what the movie is all about. It's about his irrepressible confidence and just self belief, almost to the point of delusion, that he can
It's quixotic. It's
just
like I was saying. He's just completely delusional about putting together this movie. The part where Sarah Jessica Parker is like, "You people are wasting your lives. You're just making these movies that everybody thinks are terrible." And there's almost something. I think there's something kind of poignant. There's definitely something poignant, but it's almost something kind of beautiful about the idea of making movies that nobody likes just for your own sake.
Well. First off, speaking of him being quixotic, it is absolutely no coincidence that in the
Sorry,
Orson
are we
Welles
saying
scene,
quixotic?
I mean, he's Don Quixote, right?
Well, I know, but I don't know. I feel like
He's not Don Quixote.
bastardized. Didn't we bastardize
I
that
feel like
one?
quixotic and quixotic have the same root, right?
Yeah,
They
Don
definitely, it's
Quixote.
just a question of pronunciation. Yeah, I just,
Anyway,
all right,
but
sorry.
no worries, no worries. But it is absolutely no coincidence that in the Orson Welles scene he talks about how funding for his Don Quixote movie just fell through. So it's definitely
I didn't
yeah,
catch
that was
that.
definitely meant to like foreground that I think
Yeah,
in our
okay.
minds to contextualize Ed Wood in that way. But yeah, so this going back to what I talked about, how like I feel like this is a very print the legend movie, and why like I feel like this like Depp's Ed Wood is a Tim Burton character in that. The through line of this movie is basically yes, like there's definitely an element of like the joy of of movie making. But I think there's also again like the Burton like the Tim Burtonish like outsider looking for a family motif, which again like
Yeah,
almost one of the
yeah.
first things in the movie is him
Found
like
family, right? Like
yeah,
found family kind of.
it's
Yeah,
like him coming clean about his cross dressing to try and get in on and the Christian Jurgensen picture, which
right.
eventually morphs into Glenn or Glenda. And Glenn or Glenda, which I have in fact seen, is it's a very strange movie in terms of filmmaking, but it is absolutely like a piece of outsider art. Like you can definitely tell that like it is definitely a movie that like is you can tell is personal to the filmmaker.
That's something
So
I hadn't really thought about with Tommy Wiseau, and it applies to Ed Wood. The outside, the art brut aspect of this is really
mhm.
interesting. I hadn't really
Oh,
articulated
yeah,
that thought
that's definitely
before,
part
but
of it.
that's
But
yeah.
also, but the part where I feel like again, where I feel like it was Tim Burton kind of make like trying to make a theme happen as opposed to something that might have actually been like historically accurate is also the point where he makes a point of like the Bale of like picking out a Bela Lugosi speech from Bride of the Monster, where Lugosi's is the mad scientist character talks about having been chased out of his country, never
Yeah.
seeing his wife or child again, and like being lost alone in the wilderness. The fact that like we not only see like that scene within the context of it being shot for that movie, but then Landau as Bela redoes it again like on the street, like
Uh-huh.
again like I feel like that's definitely like Tim Burton trying to like Tim Burton having chosen a theme and then like trying and then cherry picking things to make it fit, as opposed to something where I don't really think like again having watched that movie. I don't think that speech is like was like a cry from the heart of Ed Wood.
It's aggrandizing Ed Wood a little bit. Everything about it, right? It's a little
Hmm.
bit turning him into something that he probably really wasn't in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
I think one of the best themes we were talking about what is the relationship with Bela Lugosi. I remember Chris was saying that that's one of the main themes he thought originally. But I think in a sense it is because the way that Ed Wood views Bela Lugosi, right? And the way he idolizes him, and then the reality of Bela Lugosi as like an aging, kind of washed up heroin addict, or morphine addict, sorry, is representative of kind of the dream and the sort of flim flam of Hollywood. The illusion can suck you in, but the reality is something much grosser. I don't know. That's kind of a theme too. But then again, I don't know. The tone of the film is at odds with that because the tone is pretty upbeat.
Yeah, like I said, it's just like relentlessly chipper.
Plenty of things that you could bring in that would not be upbeat. I mean, the morphine addiction, you could play that a very different way. Ed Wood's alcoholism,
They didn't touch on.
any kind of
Well,
problem. He runs out to bars several times when he has an issue.
It's implied. It's implied a little bit, but I didn't really see it that way. I saw it as more like a Hollywood dramatic thing, like, oh, go have a drink and clear, like
well, and then like everybody in the 50s was an alcoholic, right?
Yeah,
like Mad Men taught us.
But I think yeah, like Chris was saying, I think in reality the guy was like an alcoholic, like it was a problem. He also lied about.
I think in the post credits did he? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, he lied. No, sorry, he embellished his war service.
He printed the legend.
Well, yeah.
He was there. He was in the Pacific during the war. He didn't fight. He lost his teeth because of some dental condition that developed while he was in the war. It was not in combat. I mean, it was just, like I said, embellished. I guess you could be forgiven for that if you actually served in the theater. You could.
One of my other favorite scenes in the movie, though, is when he is hanging out at Bela Lugosi's at Halloween, and they scare the kids.
Yes, that's a great scene. I really like that.
That was really good.
Yeah, that's good. The really scary thing is the guy with no teeth. I like that. That would have worked. Did I ever tell you guys about the story? I might have to cut this for relevance, but I was at a bar and I had done trivia a couple of weeks before and met this deeply and greatly affected autistic guy who did trivia with me. He was brilliant, but he was just really, really off. And I saw him and he was a big Cubs fan. So we were watching a Cubs game together at the bar. And then this old man came over to talk to us and he was like, "Oh, you guys watching the Cubs game?" I was like, "Yeah." They get a big home run or something. I don't remember exactly what happened, but the autistic guy I was hanging out with clapped the old man on the back so hard that his teeth fell out of his mouth onto the floor. And I was just like standing with my mouth open. And the autistic guy bends over and picks the dude's teeth up for him to hand them back to him. And I was just like, I can't believe I'm sitting in the middle of this interaction. Like, that kind of thing is why I sometimes go to bars, just in the hopes that I will see an event like that at some point. So,
man, you're right out of a comic book.
Man, you come right at it. We talked about that on the Enter the Dragon episode. Not that I remember it there. So I thought it was interesting because I had the dates mixed up, right? I thought this movie was earlier, so I didn't pick up on the fact that it was Howard Shore and not Danny Elfman. And there's a story there. Apparently, Tim Burton and Danny Elfman had a big falling out doing Nightmare Before Christmas, because it's kind of notable, right? Like all the big Tim Burton movies have Danny Elfman for a while.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And I guess to that point, like I couldn't like really tell you like a particular like piece of music in this film that grabbed me. I feel like it was maybe reliant on like just kind of like stock like 50s movies kind of motifs, which again ties into like the conceit of kind of consciously trying to evoke that.
It grabbed me. It did grab me for a minute. Swan Lake gets used a couple of times. And I was like, oh, that's a really beautiful piece of music. And I was like, oh, because that's Tchaikovsky. That's why it's a beautiful piece. Like, it took me a second. It's mixed in with the Howard Shore stuff. But this is
it is the sound equivalent of using stock footage.
Yeah, right? Because you can have the rights to it. It's fair use. You can drop Tchaikovsky into your I actually really like Tchaikovsky. We saw something that sampled
very good
record quite a bit. Some of those are just they bang, like those are really good melodies. I wanted to ask you guys about Tim Burton. A, do you like him? Do you think he's good? And B, what's your favorite Tim Burton?
Probably Nightmare Before Christmas. I like his work, but I have to separate the man from the work because he's done some kind of shady stuff.
Oh, no. What did he do?
For example, his wife at the time, Lisa Marie, plays Vampirella in this movie.
Right.
And I cannot help but compare her to Dolores Fuller, who was the girlfriend of Ed Wood at the time, because he put her in a bunch of movies. He put Lisa Marie in a bunch of movies, and then the second he found a
better model,
better girlfriend.
Yeah. Okay.
Helena Bonham Carter, for example, he moves right on.
She's notably not in this one, right? That's somebody that you would think would have been in this movie.
No, he doesn't meet her until later.
Oh, yeah,
Sleepy Hollow, right?
Oh, yeah, Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, okay.
Which is actually even a better parallel because I believe his wife at the time was in that movie too. And had her part reduced. Very similar to Dolores Fuller.
Maybe that's another reason Timmy Boy could kind of relate.
Well, this was before that, so
he saw he was he looked up to his idol, did followed in his footsteps. I might go with Edward Scissorhands. It's been a long time since I saw it, but I think I probably
saw it in the theater, and I don't remember it terribly well. I think I thought it was visually arresting, but it was kind of dull. the story was kind of dull, if I remember right. I don't know.
Maybe you're not goth enough.
I didn't like Nightmare Before Christmas the first time I saw it, but I have subsequently, over the last 15 years, seen it about 150 times with my kids. And I really like that movie. That's really good. It's really like, I don't know, there's just so much brilliant stuff going on in it that I really appreciate it.
The music in it it just puts it over the top for me.
I liked the music. I bought the album, the CD actually, when I first saw it when we were kids. I think we all went to go see it together, Joe, if I remember right, like with Ali and everybody, like when it first came out.
Yeah, probably.
I always liked Beetlejuice. I love Pee-wee, actually. I forgot that that's a Tim Burton. I really like that one. I feel like there's another one that I also like. But anyway, Andrew, what's your opinion?
The Batman movies, maybe?
Yeah, I did like the Batman. I don't know if that would hold up at all if I went back and watched it, so I'm not even counting that. Like, that seems to me like that's probably not so great, but...
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like I'm a lot more... I was surprised how little of Tim Burton stuff I've seen just because I'm so familiar with so many of his, things and the references to a lot of his movies and everything. So, like, I think I've seen the Batman movies. I'm like looking at the filmography right now.
Yeah, he did Batman 1 and 2. I actually kind of like 2 better than the first one.
Wow. That's definitely a minority opinion.
Yeah. And then I saw Beetlejuice, Sweeney Todd, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And that's about it. So Ed Wood is now like my fifth Tim Burton movie that I've seen. And but again, I'm familiar with Pee-wee and I'm familiar with Edward Scissorhands and Nightmare Before Christmas.
You never saw Pee-wee?
Never saw it.
Oh,
I don't think I've seen Pee-wee either.
Oh, in a really weird kind of way. I think it holds up. I think it's actually pretty fun to watch, strangely. You would think that would be an absolute product of its time, but it's kind of like Wes Anderson. It's kind of outside its time, so it kind of still, if it worked then for you, it's going to work now, if you know what I mean. Like, it doesn't really actually have any hallmarks of being from the time it's from.
Yeah, he's just one of those creators that like I wanted to watch, but just never got around to it. And then times passed, and I just never got back to it. And I've heard great things about Pee-wee's, like that it's something that it still holds up to this day and everything like that. But
well, now you've seen Ed Wood.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's one of my favorite things about doing this podcast is I've caught up on some stuff that I always meant to watch or read. Like
same. Yeah. Like I really should have seen this movie, considering that I have actually seen like at least 5 Ed Wood movies. Although again, in like Mystery Science Theater edited versions.
I think that's the only way you could sit through them, right? If it's MST3K is like the only way you could sit through an Ed Wood.
That's why I've never seen Plan 9.
In fact, Joe and I immediately watched the MST3K of Bride of the Atom after watching this.
Oh,
and,
wow.
That was fun.
That would be fun. That would be I would do that. I would absolutely sit through one of those. So I wanted to ask kind of a similar question. What do you guys think of Johnny Depp? Like, do we have opinions about Johnny Depp? Because I feel like...
Yeah, like in this movie or generally?
In general. And the reason I want to say that is, for me, I've always kind of liked Johnny Depp, but the way he's acting in this film and the choices he makes are the reason why he's never really gone to being like the top of my list of guys I like. Like the way he acts in Pirates of the Caribbean, for example, is kind of awesome, but kind of awful at the same time in terms of his actual ability to act. But he makes these cool choices. This is going to sound a little gay, but he's kind of nice. He's kind of fun to watch. Like, he's kind of fun to look at, especially when he's young. I don't know if I think he's a great actor. What do you guys think about that?
For me, I almost have kind of a through line from this movie and then connecting it with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where in Ed Wood, it's like he makes some choices that, I don't know if maybe it's an accurate portrayal of how Ed Wood was in real life, but, it's like he starts putting on these kind of like almost affectations that just kind of, it just seems like it's a little bit exaggerated. And then with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, because people were making parents like, oh, you're trying to do like a Michael Jackson impression and things like that. And just, it made it almost inhuman.
There's a little bit of Michael Jackson in Willy Wonka, actually. Now that I think of it, like, I mean, luring a bunch of children to your fantasy garden. It's kind of
wow.
But then
and I was thinking the same thing about Ed Wood, right? The Venn diagram of Willy Wonka and Ed Wood has an intersection, right? They're sort of megalomaniacal. I mean, Willy Wonka, is a little more successful, obviously, but at the same time, a little quirky and like a creator and sort of follows his own vision. So maybe Tim Burton likes that. Because
I think he does
kind of like that too, right? His version of Superman was going to be the outsider. They were going to focus on Superman was like the alien and the outsider. That was going to be the primary thing about his character. Not that we ever got to see that, but
then I think back on Johnny Depp. Was it Black Mass, the one about the mobster?
Yes, I think so.
You're talking about the Dylan movie, right?
No. That's
he was like Whitey Bulger, wasn't he?
Yeah, Whitey Bulger.
Oh, that's a different one. I'm thinking of Public Enemy.
Okay.
Public Enemies.
Oh
where
yeah,
where he
I
played
guess he was in that
Dillinger. He
too.
played Dillinger.
Yeah, but I mean, like when he played Whitey Bulger, and then as random as it is, like when he makes that cameo in 21 Jump Street, he plays it much more grounded, and it's like, oh, he's great. He can just play a character and not have to like go over the top with it. So it's
Donnie
I get very
Brasco.
torn.
He's
Oh,
good in
and,
Donnie
well, I haven't seen
Brasco.
Donnie Brasco, so
He was good in that. He's kind of understated, and he's also playing next to Al Pacino, so anybody would look understated.
right.
I've realized that literally everything after about I think Scent of a Woman, Al Pacino is unwatchable. But for about 3 years, people were just still enamored with the guy, and they kept putting him in movies. Like I saw Heat. A bunch of people were ranting about Heat, and I went and watched it. I was like, he's awful in that movie. Robert De Niro is awesome, and Al Pacino is garbage. It's hard to watch him. He's so bad. But anyway,
Well, we can
sorry.
get
Well,
into
it's
a heat
funny
discussion
because
another
De
time.
Niro kind of evolves into that too,
A
right?
little
He,
bit.
he
Yeah.
becomes a bit of himself.
Well, he started working comic, right? I think once you do that, it's a little hard to come back. So I
Unless
think
you're Gene Hackman.
unless you're Gene Hackman, right? And you just do it for one scene, which is a pretty yeah. I think we're kind of getting. Does anybody have any other ground game that they want to run?
Well, I wanted to go back to like the acting because as much as I did enjoy everyone's acting in it, the problem I did have was Lisa Marie. But I couldn't figure out
Yeah,
if
she's
that's
bad. Yeah,
the way she's supposed to be playing that character and the way that
I think both.
Vampira was supposed to be, or if she's just not a good actress.
When you see Sarah Jessica Parker do the character, like the playing Dolores Fuller, and then you see how she acts when she's on camera, you're like, Sarah Jessica Parker's a good actress. Like this is two different things, right? This is she can be the wooden bad actress, but she can also be a good actress and like in the next scene. So I don't know about I don't know how I feel about Vampira. Maybe she might just suck, but
I guess that's a very interesting question because I bought her performance in terms of like, or at least I bought her portrayal of Vampire as someone who is just like extremely jaded, who is kind of like not in a great situation and knew it. So like that kind
yeah.
of like lack of effect worked there. But it's also but worth playing that yeah, I think the only other role I've seen her in was in Mars Attacks, where she played like a literal alien with no dialogue. So
That's a movie I've never seen. I hear people talk about it all the time, and I somehow missed that one.
it's a
So
wacky one.
hearing no objections, I think we'll move on to closing arguments, right? So, oh, there was one weird fact that I came upon. I did read a little bit about Ed Wood, and I thought this was interesting. It has no place in anything we're talking about. He had a camera when he was a little kid, and apparently he got one of his first things he ever shot. He lived in Poughkeepsie, and he got a shot of the Hindenburg crossing the Hudson River at Poughkeepsie. Like
Oh wow,
he had that piece of film. Like before the Hindenburg got to New Jersey and crashed, he filmed it crossing the Hudson River. I think that's like getting one of
that's
the
pretty cool.
pictures of 9/11. You know, what I mean,
Yeah,
that's
that's
wild.
wild. Yeah.
But anyway, all right. So we need to talk about did anybody have any big surprises? I'm going to put Joe on the spot. What's your biggest surprise?
I think my biggest surprise was realizing that I had watched more than yeah, at least five
Yeah,
Ed Wood movies before
right.
seeing this, and that
Yeah.
Plan 9 is still not one of them. Like that, that's if anyone normal could name an Ed Wood movie, Plan 9 would be the one.
Was it Glenn or Glenda? Is that what the movie's called?
Yes, Glenn or Glenda and
Did you
Bride of
see
the
that?
Monster.
Was that part of MST3K or did you watch that somehow?
Yeah, I watched that one in a Rift format. Yes.
Okay, okay. Because I know you're like you're of the people who come on the show. I think you actually took some film in school, right? You actually did
I
some.
did. Yeah, I took a couple classes
Yeah,
in
I
college.
mean
Yeah.
that's a lot more than most people do. So that's a good background. All right, that's a good one. Andrew, what's your biggest surprise from this one?
Come back to me because I've already forgotten what my biggest surprise was.
Oh, it must not have been a very big impression. All right, Chris, this should be easy. You don't have to
Uh,
introduce yourself or say goodbye or anything. So you should be.
it's going to take a bit of a minute here because I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but my experience with this movie dates back to pre-streaming days when you would just flip on HBO and whatever was on, you'd watch. So I've
Mhm.
actually seen the last 20 minutes of this movie and
Right,
nothing else before that, before we watched it. So I think I picked up right when he meets
Patricia Arquette.
Orson Welles.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No, Orson Welles to the end. And so my
Wes.
view of this movie has been totally skewed for many years. I had no idea Ed Wood was a transvestite. That totally floored me. I thought this
Yeah,
was a movie about the making of Plan 9 from Outer Space. I
yeah.
didn't realize it was a full biopic about him. So, for whatever that's worth, that's on me. But
Parenthetical
a lot of
question
those
here.
MST3K comments make more sense now.
Yes.
Parenthetical
Wow.
question here, though. Is it a biopic if it really just covers a couple of years? Is that still a biopic?
I'd say yeah. It's a part
Can
of
be.
it's a biographical project. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Andrew,
I
I'm
mean, I
going to
would say
jump.
Lincoln is definitely a biopic. and it really only covers
Just
the
focuses on the
very end of his
passage of the
presidency
13th
and
Amendment. Yeah. Andrew, I'm going to jump ahead of you because Chris stole mine. My biggest surprise was literally the whole transvestite thing. I was just like, whoa, did not see that coming. That's okay, fine. That's what we're doing now. All right, cool.
I thought that was part of the
I read
promotion of the
nothing.
movie.
I knew nothing about this film.
Okay.
Nothing. I knew Johnny Depp was
Yeah.
in it, and I knew it had to do with making bad movies. When they mentioned Plan 9, I was like, oh, that's right. He made that. Like, I didn't even remember that as I started. I was
Yeah,
coming in cold. So,
Yeah, again, that'd be most people's context. Yeah, and again, we're talking about like a 30-year-old movie, a movie that's past its 30th anniversary here. I can't remember like a single trailer for this movie or how they tried to sell it.
I listened to the whole, I listened to like a whole podcast episode somebody did about Plan 9, and I didn't remember the Ed Wood. I mean, I've listened to hundreds and thousands of hours of podcasts, so some things get lost. All right, Andrew, did you come up with it? What's your biggest surprise?
Well, one going back to it real quick about the promotion, I clearly remember when the trailers came out for this and seeing Johnny Depp in the Angora sweater and everything. So like, it was shocking at the time, and it was just kind of funny watching now and how benign it would be if that movie was made now, if that was released to be like, it'd just be like, oh, here's a snapshot of how it was, how backwater it was in the 50s with how they treated people, in the LGBTQ community. I think honestly, like I didn't really have that many.
Wait, would a transvestite be included in the LGBTQ? That would be under queer somewhere, right?
That would be in the plot. Yeah, that's definitely in the queer spectrum somewhere. Although again, we also had, again, going back to Bill Murray, yeah, we had who I'm not sure if they ever mentioned this character's name, but yeah, Bill Murray's character, Bunny Breckenridge, was definitely, super gay, possibly trans.
By the way, the speech he gives about going to Mexico, I put a note about that. That was hilarious. There's just something about the way he deadpans. He's like, Mexico was a disaster, and he just goes, and he's like, and these mariachis like help me survive. And it's just like, what is happening? Right now? Did he add
the part that really broke me up about that was that the mariachi band behind him was playing Que Sera Sera during his tragic story, and it's like, what a weird choice that is.
He just is, just really capable of a deadpan that's absolutely hilarious. Like when I think of Rushmore and I think the way he did that, it's that's the funniest Bill Murray to me. It's not that zany guy from Stripes. It's that understated, like, Mexico was a disaster. Like that's my favorite Bill Murray. Anyway. So, Andrew, did we jump over your biggest surprise? No, it was
but that's the thing.
It was the whole transvestite thing. Everybody, that's their biggest surprise.
No, that was
but that's the thing. It wasn't a surprise for me because I knew about that. I remembered that from the promotion. But like, I guess honestly, the biggest surprise was Landau's daughter playing that character. That she's the same actress from Buffy and Angel. That just because
Drusilla,
I recognized her. Yeah,
she's awesome.
There really was.
She's awesome, by the way. I don't know why.
For me, just a kind of little funny tidbit was the fact that the first time I'd ever heard about Plan 9 was when I lived in Richmond, and there are I think they're still around, these record stores called Plan 9 Records or Plan 9 Music or something like that. And so like I didn't know that, I didn't understand the reference.
I do remember. I remember seeing those. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I of course had no idea what that was all about, and I heard the commercials or saw the commercials and everything, and so like eventually I found out what it meant and connected with Ed Wood, and so it was just kind of nice to be able to finally like come full circle with that. And
you know what? If you had asked me, did Ed Wood direct Little Shop of Horrors, I would have said yes.
Yeah, that's a different, like, a low budget bad filmmaker.
But that's actually kind of a good movie in a weird. So like the original one is kind of an interesting story and stuff, like it's kind of well done, but it's a little different. But it's kind of in the same quirky, because my stepdad was really into these quirky sci-fi movies from those times, so I always knew Plan 9 from Outer Space was the worst movie of all time. That's like a fact I grew up knowing. So I had heard of it, but I've still never seen it. So
is Little Shop not considered a well-made movie? Because I remember
no, not the 80s. You're talking about the 80s version of the musical. There's an original film that's like a B movie from the 50s, I think.
Oh, and is that where the musical came from?
It's the one Roger Corman made on.
It's Roger Corman. Of course.
Oh, it's Corman.
Yes. Roger Corman makes better movies than Ed Wood. Like, I'm not saying
some of them.
I'm not saying he's great, but he does make some of his movies are better than what Ed Wood was cranking out. Like,
he had a better eye for talent, at least. Like Jack Nicholson is in the original.
I was going to say Jack Nicholson's in the original one, right? So that's saying something. Yeah. So I think we need to go ahead and get to the voting part. So are we voting for this one as a class? Oh, Chris, you got something? Go.
No, I was just going to say this leads directly into my spiel for my vote on this one.
Okay.
Because some people love Tommy Wiseau, some people love Roger Corman. I'm a Roger Corman guy, man. He's my favorite bad filmmaker, and I thought this was a little unfocused. I didn't think it had a full through line to it. I was entertained by this movie, but as a classic, I don't think I would put this up there. I'm waiting for my Corman biopic.
Okay, so you're a no on that.
Correct.
Okay, that's one. All right, who's up next?
I'm kind of in the same boat. Like I as much as I appreciated and as much as I enjoyed this movie, And I do like the fact that for Tim Burton, it's a little bit understated compared to like a lot of his other stuff. So I really like that. And I like the stylistic choice of making it seem like a movie made out of the 50s. But I don't know if I can necessarily make that next step and say that it's actually a classic.
I want to say Martin Landau 1,000% deserved the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor in this.
Yeah, he was really good. He was really good in this. Yeah, totally. I was thinking about, so my main argument for this being a classic is how early in the game it is to be like so meta and like about film and about the history of film and yet an entertaining movie. And I actually looked it up. I was trying to see like what movies were like that before. And it's just really, you gotta go a long way back. The only thing I came up with was Sunset Boulevard, which is about the movies. That's a classic film. I haven't actually seen it since I was much younger, and I do want to do it on the show sometime. But other than that, I came up with nothing. So my vote is definitely yes on this as being a classic because there's a lot of things that are meta like this. So this film could get made today because people have seen this type of movie today. And I think that to me makes it a classic. So I vote yes.
And I think that Singing in the Rain is underappreciated for what that did as well for the meta film commentary.
Singing in the Rain is meta?
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
It's filmmakers about like the transition from silent films to talkies and how they are able to like make that transition.
Oh, that's interesting.
It was the artist before the artist, which is another black and white movie.
Sunset Boulevard's got the same theme. It's the transition from talkies to talkies. So we're running out of time. So Joe, my vote theoretically doesn't count because I foisted. Let's say my vote counts because but it's going to be at best a tie if Joe votes for this. So Joe, the weight of the world is upon your shoulders.
As always. Well, first of all, I am going to have to give a shout out to Robert Townsend. If we're talking about movies about the movies, and even movies relevant to this one, movies about trying to be in the movie industry and having problems breaking in, like Hollywood Shuffle is from like 86, 88, and is 100% about that.
I don't know that one. Okay.
I'll have to like Criterion put that on Blu-ray. I picked it up. Like maybe next time you visit, we'll watch it or something. But yeah, I like that one a lot.
I would do a show on that.
This one, I don't know. It's an entertaining movie. I'd say it's a good movie. Martin Landau absolutely kills it. Good performances. But again, like just the vibe I get that this movie is not about Ed Wood so much as it's so much as like a movie that Tim Burton kind of fit Ed Wood into, which again, that might even not even be accurate since I haven't done my reading on Ed Wood's actual life, but just the glibness of the movie I just find a little off-putting in what is ostensibly a biopic. So I'm gonna say it's a good movie, but I wouldn't call it a classic.
Okay, so it's voted down. I mean, we're either 3-0 or 3-1. So either way, it's not a classic according to Toasting the Classics. And I think that's going down on the record. I'm a little disappointed. I thought this was pretty good, but all right, fine. I will bow.
I mean, pretty good, but classic. Well, you know, we got to have standards.
Fair enough. I bow to the will of the voting mandate that we have here.
Hoi polloi.
So for Dave McArthur, I'm saying goodnight. Thanks everybody for joining us in Toasting the Classics.
Skål.
Chris, say goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Andrew.
This is Andrew saying goodnight.
All right, goodnight, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Joe, you said skål. Does that count as your goodbye?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Peace out, everybody. Thanks.